everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, this is so exciting. My name's Adele. I'm Ellie. We are the co-founders of Wombshine. We are the probably world's first period supplement and chocolate company that has been integrated together. Why isn't this a thing? We don't know, but it is now. So yeah, we just wanted to introduce ourselves first and why we started this company. So my name's Adele, and I was born in New York, and I grew up in Philadelphia, and I lived in many cities. I lived in Paris and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and New York and San Francisco, and then I moved to London in 2018 to do a master's degree. So I'm a feminist, and I always worked in women's empowerment, and I worked in girls' education, and I worked at NARAL and Planned Parenthood, if there's any Americans in here. And I just love supporting women so much. I think we need a little bit of support in this world that we're in. And essentially, so I work in the refugee sector right now as an entrepreneurship coach. I work with designers and makers. And during the pandemic, I started getting a lot of women's health issues. It's really interesting because actually before the pandemic hit, I knew that I had a cyst on my ovary. I don't know if anybody here has had cysts before, but actually our friend who's going to speak next is going to talk about that, she mentioned. So I'm excited to hear more because I still don't know that much about it, despite having 3 surgeries about it. So basically, the NHS has a watch and wait policy for cysts, which essentially means we're not really sure, so let's just see what happens. But then what happened is there was a pandemic and all of the healthcare shut down, and it became incredibly difficult to get healthcare. So actually, by the time I was able to have surgery, I had to have a very, very serious surgery, a laparotomy, if anybody knows what that is. It's basically a C-section, to remove a grapefruit-sized cyst from my right ovary, who I named Rachel. And thankfully, Lucy, my left ovary, never got cysts, but Rachel did get more cysts after that. So I had more surgeries, and then finally they just removed Rachel entirely. And if you can believe this, my gynecological oncology surgeon's name was Dr. Mystery. That is not made up. So I kept asking him, I was like, Doc, just give it to me straight. What did I do wrong? Why am I getting this? And he literally was just like, we have no idea. We don't know why. I'm like, what can I do to not have it happen more? Because I'm tired of getting surgery every 7 months. And he's like, nothing. It's just normal. It's just a part of... Oh, another hilarious thing is when I first started getting all these symptoms, they told me I had pelvic inflammatory disease, which basically just means, something's messed up in there. So yeah, I still to this day know most of what happened to me because of Reddit. So thank you, Reddit. And that inspired me to get involved with this amazing concept, which Ellie can tell you a little bit more about conceptualizing.
So, thank you, Adele. I think, there's just so much we don't know and aren't told about our own bodies as female-bodied people. And I was really shocked when, in the pandemic, I was living with a group of women, all of our periods synced up, and we had the same kind of journey through those cycles together. And none of us really knew what to do about it except get a hot water bottle and kind of be like, oh, we're really sad, and we'll just be low energy for a few days. And credit to the one male housemate we had, who was a bit of a hero and was maybe also facing a fair bit of, a little bit of a stressful time each month maybe with his 4 female housemates. He did some research and found out that actually there's a load of nutrients that your body is depleted in when you bleed. There's a load of things that are just not there at the same levels that they are at other parts of your cycle, and that you could change this. And I was shocked and quite ashamed actually to realise that I didn't know any of this. So we started taking little vitamins each month, and he'd come to us with a plate, which was our little monthly dose of vitamins and nutrients that we needed, all these different supplements. And I mean, it was really sweet, and credit to him, he's great. He's our CTO, and what else is he? He's one of our co-founders.
Yeah, co-founder.
He does a lot. But it wasn't that tasty, I have to say. And we were chatting one evening about how could we make this an actually enjoyable experience. And we were all agreeing that we all crave chocolate every time we were on our period. And we're thinking, how do we put these things together? So that was the concept born for Wombshine. We decided that what we really needed to do was do some really deep research into all of the different nutrients that are needed, all the different herbs, the adaptogens, some of the herbal remedies, traditional remedies that people have known for centuries, but I still wasn't remotely aware of. And we put them into tasty chocolates. And then thought, let's build a care package out of this and add other stuff that people like on their period, like tea and art and music and stuff that helps you actually enjoy your cycle rather than dread it. So that's kind of where it came from.
So yeah, crazily enough, we don't think about this very much, but while you have your period, you're actually bleeding out loads of different nutrients that are inside of your body. That's literally what's happening. They're bleeding out blood cells that are full of, different minerals and vitamins, and your hormones are also going a little bit crazy, which we're gonna, that's kind of a rude thing to say. They're not going crazy, they're just doing what they do. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about those cycles in a moment. But while you are bleeding, while your womb is shedding in the menstrual phase, your body can benefit from certain vitamins and nutrients, and that's kind of what we've been researching and putting into these chocolates. Unfortunately, because we don't really learn that much about this, because we do kind of try to hide away our periods, we try to hide that we have our periods. It's not really socially acceptable to go to work and say, oh, sorry, I'm not going to do that today because actually I'm bleeding so much that I don't have the energy to do it. We just push through. And this whole concept of pushing through while we're bleeding, I'm sure every single person in this room has some kind of humiliating or heart-wrenching or hilarious story about trying to push through on your period and it backfiring on you, which is going to be one of our social media campaigns one day. But yeah, rather than pushing through, we thought to ourselves, why not actually actively support our wombs? Why not lean into our cycles and work with them and honor our bodies rather than just pretending like this is not happening, because it is happening to pretty much, the vast majority of period-having women.
And there is a movement around this, which some of you might have encountered already, called period power. So we see ourselves very much as part of that. And we just wanted to give a little bit of an insight into what we've learned about what's going on, because information is power. So this is a shot from Wikimedia's helpful overview of hormonal changes during menstruation. So you can see here you've got estrogen and progesterone, which are your main kind of hormones affecting your cycle. And the progesterone is the purple line, and that is going up into a big mound just before your period. And that is often what's responsible for you feeling a bit low energy, although somebody I met the other day said they kind of call it the Zen hormone, which I really like, actually, because I had kind of come to this conception of it as being like, ooh, estrogen's the one that gives me all the energy and makes me feel really alive and full of excitement, and then progesterone comes in. And I'm low energy. But actually, I think that's another part of this reconceptualizing of embracing rest and downtime and the sort of Zen-like qualities that come. So you have this big spike of estrogen just when you ovulate. That's the bit in the middle. It's also quite interesting, I think, the basal body temperature. So that's your kind of resting body temperature. So that shows how in your first half of your cycle, the follicular phase, you've got a slightly lower temperature, basically, than your second half of your cycle. So there's quite a lot of difference happening across your body throughout your cycle. And just being aware of this and being able to anticipate it can be hugely, hugely powerful. The next thing that we came across, I don't know if anyone else has come across this idea before, but the seasons model of a menstrual cycle. I really want to shout out Maisie Hill and her wonderful book, Period Power. Has anyone read this? A few nods. Awesome. So this is where I first encountered the seasons model, but I know it's a lot of people have been talking about this for a while. And I found it really helpful because everyone's familiar with the seasons of the year and the different kinds of energy that you can expect at different times of year, right? So if you think of your cycle in the same way, you've got your winter, which starts on day 1 of your bleed. That's when you're often feeling quite low energy, quite inward looking. You might need some support. You might need people to carry stuff for you. You might need to just take it a bit easy. Similarly, you do in winter, right? And you can think of the sorts of ways you look after yourself in winter. That's the similar kind of thing for that winter of your cycle. Then you move into your spring. So that's where your estrogen levels are picking up. You're getting a little bit more energy. You may be feeling like you want to start getting out there a bit more, meeting people, being a bit more sociable. That's building up to the point of ovulation, which is the time when your whole body is saying go have sex, basically, procreate. So you kind of feel it, though. You'll notice there's a part of your cycle where you're just yeah. So that's the bit that personally I enjoy the most. Everyone's different though. Everyone sort of vibes with different parts of their cycle, which is really beautiful. And then once that bit's over, and it tends to be quite short, everyone's cycle is different. So this is a vague idea of how long different phases might be, but your own cycle will be really different. And then you move into the luteal phase, proper, which is the kind of autumn. And that's a bit coming up to your period. So you might experience a sort of slowing down again, a sort of less energy. Sometimes that can be really good for focus, though, and concentration and sorting through things. I find often, if I've put off a task for, organising stuff for a long time, that's a good time to do it, because I'll just really want to do it then. Decision-making, I'm less good at. Decision-making, I wait till my winter, because suddenly then everything's calm and it feels like I have a huge amount of clarity. But again, everybody's a bit different, so don't take my word for this stuff. But I found the seasons model really helpful, because I can then say to my housemates, my friends, oh, I'm in my winter at the moment, bear with me, I need a bit of extra support. Or I'm in summer and I can plan my life a bit around it as well. So certain things like big meetings at work, for example, I'll try and plan for when I know I'm going to have a bit more energy and I know I'm going to actually be able to sort of bring it fully when it won't be a struggle.
So for those of us who can plan our lives around our cycles, that's sick. A lot of us can't, because we live in our society. So what we're trying to do with Wombshine is create a little bit of space where everyone can acknowledge, at least our MVP is the menstrual cycle. So about 2 days before you start bleeding, you're moving into this cycle, and so your body is starting to shift into that winter period that she's talking about. As many of you have heard before, it's can we slow down? Can we put on, those winter things? Can we put on a Snuggie and just sit on the couch and have other people do things for us? Hopefully. But if not, maybe there's what we call the ritualization of supporting our bodies during the menstrual cycle. So the way that we conceptualized the Wombshine boxes is that they come with 6 truffles. Each truffle is enough vitamins for 1 day to support you on your menstrual cycle. And you can start from 2 days before the cycle begins. And each box has different flavors in, and we'll talk a little more about the herbs we used for the flavors. But the boxes have art on one side just to make us feel happy. And inside, with all the nutritional information, there's a playlist, a calming, cool playlist. And we encourage people sit back. We put nettle tea or raspberry leaf tea in here. Pour yourself a cup of tea. Let your chocolate truffle of the day melt in your mouth. Listen to the playlist and just take a minute to be I'm bleeding right now. I'm bleeding right now. I'm supporting myself, And Obviously, there's the nutrition, which we'll get to in a moment. And actually, Ellie has some great ideas for other types of self-care. We all have our own special self-care rituals that we do, and this is a great time to do them. If you don't know what kind of rituals might be cool other than this, Ellie has some ideas.
So there's some really good yoga for periods. Has anyone done good period yoga before? Anyone look that up? Lots of nods there. This pose here is particularly good. This is also a pose that they recommend for pregnant women because it completely relaxes your abdominal muscles. If you're feeling really bad cramps, then sitting in this pose and your back on the floor and your legs up on the chair, 90 degrees, with a hot water bottle over your womb is going to be really good. It's going to really, really help that. Again, I never knew that. I used to kind of curl up in a ball, and that's not the best pose. So it's really interesting actually learning what's really helpful. There's a great thing called Mayan abdominal womb massage. Has anyone come across that? Look it up. There's lots of information online about it. You'll find in kind of hippie circles, there's often little sort of sessions or workshops on it as well. It's essentially kind of doing an amazing massage dedicated entirely to the womb, which is awesome. This is a traditional massage from the Mayans, literally. And the idea is you sort of circle around the belly button area, and you also kind of like do sort of radial massaging as well. And I did one evening of this about 3 days before my period one time, and I had zero pain. Absolutely zero. Normally I get a sort of medium level. And I think it's really interesting how that kind of self-care ritual as well. I don't know how much was the actual massage and how much was just the time I've taken for myself to actually look after myself. But yeah, also, candles, incense, whatever you like. Hot things are always good as well.
Yeah. I think also like it's imperfect, right? We live in an imperfect world where we can't follow our cycles like we said, but it's like, make that time precious. If you can there's 8 to 10 songs on the playlist, they're good songs. Even if it's one song, like take the one song, you know? Like just to acknowledge yourself and give yourself like a freaking second. Yeah.
So, we're gonna, how much time have we got? We're doing okay? Okay, great. So we did some research, which I'm sure you'll all be interested in, into what we learned about different vitamins and nutrients. And this is all on our website, by the way, so if you are trying to get screenshots of it from here, then feel free to do that, but you can also find it on our website. And we found that there's a lot of traditional remedies that things like cramp bark, vitex berry, also known as chaste berry, and lady's mantle, that have been used for centuries, but aren't that familiar to a lot of people in our sort of generation. So a lot of these are really helpful for relieving cramps. A lot of them are anti-inflammatory. We've got, which ones? Yeah, the lady's mantle is really helpful for heavy bleeding in particular. And there's also just such a huge wealth of sort of wisdom, like ancient wisdom, about how to support womb care throughout your cycle, but particularly on your bleed, which, again, like I don't know why I wasn't taught this at school or in my teenage years in kind of any of the circles I was in.
Because periods are gross, Ellie.
Yeah, I feel partly sad, partly angry actually about it. I don't know how many of you feel that you know that much about nutrition that supports your cycle, but I was really shocked how little I knew. The vitex berry is a really interesting one. The chaste berry, that can support swollen breasts. So some people get really painful breasts during their periods. Cramp bark, as you would imagine, cramps, it's literally named after what it supports you with. And we thought we would give a bit of a test of what you all know or are currently using as well, because I appreciate there's loads of great wisdom in this room probably as well. You're all here because you're interested in this, right? And I think the more we can just start talking about this together and sharing the different things that we've all found work for ourselves, the better, right? So over to you. If you want to put your hand up and say what's the nutrients that you have found work really well, if you've explored this. Any supplements any of you take? Or anything you've heard of?
Magnesium.
Magnesium, awesome. Yes, that's a big one. That's probably one of the biggest actually. Yeah.
Magnesium.
What do you find that helps with?
I mean, it's regulating coordination for sleep, cramps especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you start taking it days before,
Yeah.
you wait until last night.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of it is like helpful, not just on your period. That's why with the Wombshine truffles, we're trying to kind of encourage people to start before they bleed, which is hard because sometimes your bleed is not regular like clockwork, right? So you've got to try and time it in there. But yeah, any others?
I saw a hand over there.
Maca root.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of our special flavors. We have a maca medicine flavor. We have a really cool partner chocolatier who's like a kitchen witch, and she like makes these amazing. She uses this ancient wisdom to make flavors. So our vitamin formula is full of like a lot of clinically proven types of things as well. But she uses like the raspberry leaf and the maca and the chai for the flavoring of the chocolate. It makes them really delicious. But yeah, what does maca do? Do you know?
I find it regulates my moods.
Yeah.
Like the whole cycle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Helps with hormone balance. Yeah. Anyone else?
Ginger and a mint tea before actually the period. But it's very similar to magnesium. It's basically quite a few herbs to actually do it before period, like half days.
Nice.
Then it's quite late.
Nice. Yeah, those are like anti-inflammatories, right? Nice. Yeah.
There's loads of brilliant Ayurvedic remedies. Actually, ginger's one of those, and cinnamon, cardamom, which are really helpful. Again, like, why doesn't our medicine have this knowledge embedded in it?
Our medicine has a lot of knowledge, though. So, like, we're doing okay. It's not as cool as the ancient stuff. Most of the different vitamins that we use in our mix are sort of like hormone balancing vitamins. And the reason why this is important is because hormone imbalances cause a lot of the symptoms that we experience during our cycle, which is like things like fatigue, mood swings, headaches. And actually, some of them also, like some of that hormone imbalance can also cause heavier bleeding. And obviously, the more heavily you bleed, the more nutrients you're losing, which then leads to that like irritability, sensitivity, low mood, etc. So, hormonal imbalances can also cause irregular menstruation, so like longer cycles or irregular cycles, which are associated with all different kinds of like diseases, like even things like ovarian cancer and things like that. So basically, when your hormones are balanced, like you're in a homeostasis, so you feel great. You know, you have a good amount of energy, you're sleeping well, you're taking an interest in things, etc. So one of the main things we put in, because it's so important, because you are literally bleeding it out, because it is red blood cell affecting mineral, is iron. Iron's really important for women. It basically creates or produces these red blood cells that carry the oxygen to different parts of your body, and helps your cells to receive like enough oxygen, which boosts your energy levels. It's also involved in those two hormones that Ellie was talking about, progesterone and estrogen, which are key players in your menstrual cycle. You mentioned magnesium. We put a lot of magnesium in each truffle. It's kind of a natural treatment for reducing stress. It also helps with pain. As you mentioned, it like relaxes the muscles in your uterus. It can also like calm your nervous system and reduce your stress hormone, cortisol. And that's really helpful as well to just like balance your mood, etc. It also has serotonin boosting little, elements to it, which helps you to combat sort of some of the lower mood stuff that affects you during your period. Magnesium is an interesting one because a lot of people take magnesium right before they go to sleep. I eat my truffles in the morning because they have cacao in them, which is also like, even though it's the thing that makes it taste delicious, it's also really, really important during your period as well. There's a reason why we crave chocolate during our period. It's because this ingredient, cacao, is so helpful. And actually, we provide our chocolate partners with the highest quality ceremonial grade raw organic cacao that we can find, because we want that quality control to make sure that the cacao that our chocolatiers are using has the highest levels of all of these amazing things inside. Basically antioxidants. It also reduces inflammation. It contains serotonin and other natural mood elevators. So that's why I eat my chocolates in the morning, because literally I walk out and I'm like, yeah, woo! And like, it feels really great to just eat one. I think because of the cacao, like initially. There's also vitamin A. So vitamin A deficiency has been found in women who have very, very heavy periods. One study even showed that 92% of women who are prescribed vitamin A supplements found that their heavy bleeding was alleviated. So it's very, very connected with heavier bleeding. It also has an effect on thyroid function, which of course is one of like your main hormonal regulators in your body. It's also associated with more regulated iron and vitamin D levels. So vitamin D is another one. I know it's a very intense thing that we all face in this country. Vitamin D deficiencies can actually affect your estrogen levels. And since, as we know, like your estrogen levels like shift, like decrease so much during your menstrual cycle, so it actually can like make that effect even more strong, which can cause like basically mood issues or even like depressive feelings, like a loss of interest in things. And it also like, vitamin D is very, very connected to your different phases. Like actually a lot of what's inside of our reproductive system are like these vitamin D receptors. So there's like such a strong correlation between vitamin D and your cycles. Of course, it's a little bit of a mystery exactly why. But it does help you to regulate those hormones, regulate your different phases. And also it like helps regulate adrenaline, dopamine, and serotonin in your brain, which is why like people in England are so depressed in the winter. And then last but not least, the B vitamins. I actually read in an article, it's so funny, the Bs might very well be the girl gang you didn't know you needed. I love that. They're really critical for replenishing all of the nutrients that you bleed out, and they're involved in the production of this like fatty layer that protects your nerve cells. So it's basically critical for like cognitive performance, because your nervous system is like supported by it. And obviously like when we have our period, we could all use a little more cognitive performance. So yeah. We have another slide.
One stat I read the other day actually is that women experience burnout, I think 70% more than men. And I really wonder if that is directly linked to the amount of additional fatigue that we feel on a monthly basis quite regularly that isn't accounted for in how we structure our lives and workplaces. I know we're running a bit out of time, so I'm going to let you read more about this on the website and leave you wanting a bit more. But we have a happy, healthy womb challenge to leave you with, which is just 4 simple tips to actually kind of start really paying attention to your cycle, to the womb care that we all deserve. The first is to track your cycle. I really recommend this. How many of you track your cycle currently? Quite a few.
Nice.
Awesome. Nice. How many of you use tracking apps for it? Oh, wow. Amazing. Okay, cool. Sweet. You're well ahead of the game. Cool. So I found tracking apps helpful. I also just use a really lo-fi version, which is this, you probably can't see it super well, but just a menstrual cycle chart just over here on the left, where you just write a few words of how you're feeling each day throughout the cycle, and then you see the patterns, and then you start seeing, oh, every day 17, I feel really low and irritable. Maybe I should actually kind of plan around that. So again, your cycle will be unique to you, so understanding that really intimately will be an absolute superpower. It might not always be the same. There are many other factors, obviously, but it is really handy, actually, to get a bit of a sense of what you might expect. Second, go slow, as we were saying, like take that time for yourself. Your winter does have superpowers too. That beautiful insight that you might find comes through if you just slow down, quiet down and listen. But the rest is important. Practice self-care. and try and get others to look after you a bit as well. I think I had a colleague who's at any meetings where there would be a big decision on the week running up to their period, which I thought was really interesting, how they actually literally restructured their business around their cycles. How many organisations do that? I mean, not many have the opportunity to.
We should do that.
We should do that, yeah. We got inspiration from this one. But if you can't do that, see what you can do. Even just like a small thing in a day makes a big difference. Bath, yoga, Wombshine truffle, maybe, doesn't take too long. Listen to Adele's amazing playlists, they're really good. And then get informed. I think we have, personally speaking for myself anyway, I found it such an interesting journey. I'm not a nutritionist, I'm by no means an expert in any of this, but just learning more has made me feel so much more connected to my cycle, to my body, to what's going on, to actually enjoying it and really kind of feeling into it. And that just makes the whole thing a better experience. I love the 28-ish Days Later podcast. I don't know if people have come across that one on the BBC. It's like 20-minute installations of all about periods, which is awesome. And the Period Power book here. Props to Maisie Hill. She's also got like a newsletter thing that you can get like daily installments of tips and stuff. And there's loads of stuff out there. This whole field is burgeoning at the moment. People are waking up to the power and the opportunity of actually like caring for their wombs a little bit more. So we really hope to be part of this movement here. And if anybody else is involved in any of this stuff, we would love to speak to you, because we want to make connections and kind of start this womb care revolution very much.
Speaking of the womb care revolution, we are actually launching our business. So we soft launched in December, and we've been working out all of the kinks and all the rookie mistakes. Hopefully they're all behind us, but we're not sure. We are launching, we're throwing a party in Brighton on the 28th of June. We're having all like Femme4 DJs, drag performances, poetry. We're gonna do a ritual truffle eating experience to a sound bath. It's gonna be sick. Please come. If you would like to come, you can purchase tickets through our crowdfunder. You can also purchase boxes of truffles through our crowdfunder. We're gonna do all kinds of special flavor combinations just for the launch, special playlist, special art just for the launch. We are running our little teeny tiny baby friends and family funding rounds. That's really what the launch campaign is, boiling down to at the end of the day. We are raising £3,000 that can help us to push this forward and gather evidence. Hopefully, if we're able to show someone out there that people love this and people invest in this and people support this, we might be able to get some funding. If we can get some funding, we might be able to make the womb care revolution real for a sustainable period of time. So if you guys are moved by this, if you think it's cool, if you want to buy a box, we've got samples, we've got QR codes out there you can scan with your phone. Check out the crowdfunder, read more about it, support it if you want. Get yourself some chocolate truffles, get your friends some chocolate truffles.
Come to the launch party.
Come to the launch party and party with us. We're fun. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you for listening.